From the nation's capital, Eye on Washington with Marilee Joyce. A weekly discussion about the federal issues most important to Nevada. And now, from Washington, D.C., here's Marilee Joyce.
Good day to you. I'm Marilee Joyce. This is Eye on Washington. It's the only statewide Nevada news program produced in Washington, D.C. Every week, Eye on Washington takes you straight to Capitol Hill for a discussion with Nevada's delegation and other leaders about the federal matters that matter to you. Today's topic, where is he now? We'll find out what one former Nevada leader has been up to since leaving the Hill and how he continues to work on Nevada's behalf. My very special guest today is former Nevada U.S. Senator Richard Bryan. Thanks for being here today.
What a pleasure it is to be back with you, and brings back so many fond memories of your mother and father, who I was privileged to know quite well.
Thank you, sir. So nice to have you here. Well, more than a quarter century of public service, and today on Eye on Washington, we'll remember my guest's long and successful career here on the Hill and there in Nevada. We'll look back at his top Senate accomplishments and what they meant and mean to you in Nevada. And my guest certainly has come full circle, hasn't he? Today, he's a partner in the Fenimore Craig law firm in Las Vegas, taking him back to the legal career. He began in 1964 as a deputy district attorney in Clark County. Just 2 years later, he was named Clark County's first public defender, thus began his illustrious political career, the Nevada State Assembly in 1968, re-election in 1970, to the State Senate in 1972, and a re-election 4 years later. A mingling of politics and law with his first statewide election as Nevada Attorney General in 1979. Then it was to the governor's mansion, where he served from 1983 to 1989, when he was elected to the U.S. Senate, where he worked on Nevada's behalf until his retirement 12 years later, and now back to law as a partner at Lionel Sawyer Collins, and now at Fenimore Craig. Senator, welcome to Eye on Washington. I know we've been hoping to get you on for a while, and you happen to be here in D.C. with a client.
Looking forward. As you're reading my resume, it seems like I may have had some difficulty holding on to a job. I mean, there are a lot of different things that I didn't, each one of those I enjoyed them. I was so very fortunate, Marilee. They were just wonderful opportunities for me, and I'd always wanted to do that. I'd always wanted to be in public life.
I want to tell our audience quickly that we're thrilled to have you as a two-parter. Today we're going to kind of look at where you are now and some of your accomplishments when you were here in the Senate. And then next week, we're going to give you a kind of a potpourri of issues going on the Hill and catch your opinion on them. But for now, I just want to jump in with this before we get to anything. You know, the atmosphere seems so different here now than when you were here. Yes. You retired, of course, in the year 2000. And many would say both sides are kind of attacking the other more than doing a whole lot on our behalf, constituents. But, since you were working here in Nevada, what are kind of some of your feelings on the differences here?
Well, I think it's such a polarized environment today. It can't be a fun place to work. Now, I realize that your listeners and viewers don't expect, being elected to the United States Senate to be a fun place, but my public life, I enjoyed the people I work with. I enjoy the experience. I think most people would say that, notwithstanding my many shortcomings, I worked hard. So that's not inconsistent. Today, it seems like there's much less collegiality. When I first went to the Senate, there was much more collegiality. In other words, typically, if you were an incumbent Republican senator, an incumbent Democratic senator, your colleagues didn't come into the state to campaign against you when you were up for it. That began to change, and today, of course, no holds barred, and it's much more confrontational, which I don't think is in the best interest of the public, whether you're a Democrat, Republican, whether you lean to the left or the right.
I think it's fair to say, not to make you blush, but you were a popular senator, and when you decided to leave the Hill, you were very popular. I think it's likely, I think most would say that you would have had an easy re-election. Why did you decide it was time to go back to Nevada? And when you left, what were you hoping at that time to do for Nevadans still in your retirement?
There were several things that affected. I'd been in public life, and we took no really family vacation or anything during the time I was Attorney General, Governor, and United States Senate. My kids were grown by this time. Grandchildren started arriving. And I had missed a lot with my kids. I don't think I was the worst dad in the world, but I was always gone on the road in the evening and that sort of thing. And I thought this is kind of a second chance with grandkids.
Oh, that's nice.
And that was it. And then I was not seeing my old friends. We're not talking about political associates or colleagues, but just the people that I'd grown up with, that I so enjoyed their company and they enjoyed mine, had nothing to do with politics. And then my father had died at 52 actually, and he died of prostate cancer, and my health was good and continues to be by the grace of the good Lord. But I thought, boy, maybe I won't have a long lifespan.
We're just about out of time for this segment, but I want to say, you retired, then you joined Lionel Sawyer and now Fenimore Craig. You're here in D.C., meeting with one of your clients. How does your background here on the Hill sort of help your law firm, et cetera, to kind of liaise with Washington?
Well, I think the shorthand answer is you kind of know your way around.
Okay.
You know the name of the game in terms of the Congress and the hearing structure. And there's still a number of people here on the Hill that I served with, some in the House, later some who came to the Senate where I served. And that's always helpful. And of course, there are many people in the lobbying corps that were either former staffers of mine, one of whom I worked with a couple of clients, Brent Heberly, who was my ledge director. And so it's a comfortable environment for me to return to, because you do kind of know the lay of the land.
Okay. And coming up, a look back at the senator's major accomplishments that benefited you. We're going to have that right after this.
You're watching Eye on Washington with Marilee Joyce, brought to you by Caesars Entertainment, Las Vegas Sands Corporation, the Regional Transportation Commission of Washoe County, NV Energy, Las Vegas Convention and Visitors Authority, the Rogich Communications Group, and Jim Marsh Automotive.
Safety. We all think about it. You think about it when he buckles in, when you check your mirrors and put away your phone. RTC thinks about safety too. In fact, we create it. Center turn lanes mean fewer blind spots. Bike lanes keep cyclists and you safe. Roundabouts reduce injury collisions. And all these crosswalks are designed to keep families like yours safe. Safety is your priority, and it's ours too. Every day, in everything we do.
Want more federal news that affects Nevada, its businesses, and its residents? Then you need to subscribe to Nevada's Washington Watch newsletter, your sole source of online news direct from Washington, D.C. Visit joycecommunications.com and subscribe today.
Planet Hollywood, Paris, Harrah's, Caesar's Palace. It's one of the most exciting skylines in the world, Las Vegas. Caesars Entertainment has nearly 50 casinos worldwide, including these. But no matter which casino you visit, we want you to play responsibly. And if you need help setting or keeping a limit, we hope you'll call this number. You see, we know you're coming to our casinos to have a good time, and we always want you to leave feeling like you did.
Well, Thomas, you've got pre-diabetes. But with more exercise and a change in diet, it can be reversed.
I've tried exercising. It just makes me hungry for bacon.
I love bacon, too. And who really likes to exercise?
Not me.
Me neither.
Nobody. So we're good?
What? Oh, you still have pre-diabetes. Big time.
This girl is very pretty. It's inciting feelings of jealousy in me. We should pick on her.
I'm insecure about some things, so I think we should put some me stuff on here. Maybe even some lies, too.
Yeah.
I just want to be accepted by you both. So I'm going to send this to my friends so they think I'm cool.
Kids bully for all kinds of reasons. None of them are good. Find ways to get involved at flipthescriptnow.org.
And welcome back to Eye on Washington, our special interview with one of Nevada's most popular former leaders. He is with us today, former Nevada U.S. Senator Richard Bryan. Well, my program is a half hour and not a half day in length, so I can't even make a dent in the senator's legislative efforts during his 12 years here on the Hill. But let's have a glimpse at some of his most memorable work. Maybe most notably, he led the battle against the proposed Yucca Mountain Nuclear Waste Repository, and in fact was known by many as the father of that fight, having begun his years-long effort back in 1982, long before becoming a senator. Also huge for Nevada was his partnership with then Nevada U.S. Congressman John Ensign on landmark legislation called the Southern Nevada Public Lands Act. Now, that 1997 bill was intended to promote orderly development in the rapidly growing Las Vegas Valley by requiring the sale, exchange, or transfer of certain BLM-managed lands while keeping the proceeds within the state. Quickly, a few more for you. He was an original sponsor of a constitutional amendment to require a balanced budget, an effort that continues today. He championed legislation against telemarketing fraud. He introduced legislation to increase automobile fuel efficiency standards. He helped establish 14 wilderness areas, as well as the popular Red Rock Canyon National Conservation Area and Spring Mountain National Recreation Area. And you can thank him for the airbag in your car. Senator, again, we don't have time to get to everything, and I know I'm making you blush. You know, your gaming work is so extensive, we're going to actually give it its own segment coming up. But I want to start with Yucca Mountain. I think it's fair to say you're best known for that fight.
Well, I actually left the governor's office in midterm in my second term because I was concerned. Senator Reed was waging the fight back here. He was a newly elected senator at that time in 1987 when the infamous, from the Nevada point of view, was Screw Nevada bill, which rather than studying several different sites, which was the original concept advanced in the 1982 law that began the process, it focused only on Nevada. And so I left and ran for the Senate in 1988, largely because of that. So we continued the fight, and after I left, Senator Reed did a magnificent job.
He sure did. What are your thoughts and concerns regarding the repository today?
Well, as a matter of public health and safety, I mean, the original concept there at Yucca Mountain was it was such a unique geologic condition that there would never be any movement of any of the radioactivity off the site. As they began to study more carefully the site, it turned out to be much more porous, and so the whole concept that, hey, we don't need an engineering barrier now changed, and of course they've got all of these cockamamie ideas that are being placed, and then 100 or so years later opened up, and these so-called titanium drip shields. So the concern is public health and safety.
You know, again, excluding gaming-related work, which we'll get to in a moment, I think maybe the other accomplishment you're best known for is Southern Nevada Public Lands Act. You know, your work to help fastest-growing Southern Nevada, was fastest-growing at the time, you know, to manage its growth, get some proceeds from BLM land swaps. Tell us what that bill meant and means to Nevada.
It means a great deal. First, I should say that the genesis of the legislation, former Congressman Bill Bryan had kind of begun working with people. When he left the House, I took it over and we tried in one session and then the second session. But the concept basically is to, in effect, draw an area around the metropolitan Las Vegas area, and the infill, the BLM small parcels, which frankly the BLM didn't have an interest in managing, and we provided a sale mechanism, and we also provided local government the opportunity to designate, look, we like that site for future school, library, police or fire substation.
Those proceeds in the state.
Right. And then the proceeds don't come to D.C. under the appropriators. It all stays in Nevada for federal and state and local government projects.
You know, the balanced budget amendment, you were one of Congress's first advocates for that effort, and it really remains a top unresolved issue here on the Hill today, except that now the national debt now tops $17 trillion. Interest on the debt is the third highest item on the federal budget. So I know there are pros and cons. I don't take issues on matters here on the shows, you know, but tell us why you think it's so needed.
Well, I think you've kind of outlined it. What's happened is that the interest alone,
out of control.
You know, is beginning to consume more and more of the federal budget. The deficit annually is growing each year. The total debt, the cumulative total that you pointed out, right? And that will in effect limit the ability of future Congresses to do some of the things, whether it's infrastructure or other critical needs. And it's very difficult to stop that. I mean, Democrat and Republican administrations have run up deficits each year, and I must say the current administration, I think its proposal will increase the deficit in the coming years and the debt by a quantum leap.
Wow. Guess we'll have to leave that there.
Yep.
It's well worth its own show. And just ahead, it's a good bet that the gaming industry's strength today is thanks in large part to what my guest did years ago. We're going to find out the details just after this.
Nevada's direct link to Capitol Hill. Eye on Washington with Marilee Joyce. The only statewide Nevada news show based in Washington, D.C. All the top federal matters that matter most to Nevadans. Marilee talks with our congressional delegation and other leaders about the federal news you need to know. Eye on Washington with Marilee Joyce. Nevada's Eye on Capitol Hill.
Safety. We all think about it. You think about it when he buckles in, when you check your mirrors and put away your phone. RTC thinks about safety too. In fact, we create it. Center turn lanes mean fewer blind spots. Bike lanes keep cyclists and you safe. Roundabouts reduce injury collisions. And all these crosswalks are designed to keep families like yours safe. Safety is your priority, and it's ours too. Every day, in everything we do.
We're not a miracle drug. We're not a technology. We're not doctors. Just the hope, which can often be the best cure of all. The Ronald McDonald House, a home away from home for seriously ill children and their families.
Planet Hollywood, Paris, Harrah's, Caesar's Palace. It's one of the most exciting skylines in the world, Las Vegas. Caesars Entertainment has nearly 50 casinos worldwide, including these. But no matter which casino you visit, we want you to play responsibly. And if you need help setting or keeping a limit, we hope you'll call this number. You see, we know you're coming to our casinos to have a good time, and we always want you to leave feeling like you did.
Every time I hear the alarm bell go off in school, I think it's an air raid.
A lot of houses in our neighborhood have been destroyed.
I like to close my ears and sing songs whenever the bombs come close.
I'm worried our new neighbors won't like us.
But I know it's all gonna be worth it.
I just want my family to be safe.
But these are not my words.
These are not my words.
These are not my words.
Safety. We all think about it. You think about it when he buckles in, when you check your mirrors and put away your phone. RTC thinks about safety too. In fact, we create it. Center turn lanes mean fewer blind spots. Bike lanes keep cyclists and you safe. Roundabouts reduce injury collisions. And all these crosswalks are designed to keep families like yours safe. Safety is your priority, and it's ours too. Every day, in everything we do.
And welcome back to Eye on Washington, our look at former Nevada leaders' influence on legislation affecting Nevada. We've been visiting with him, former Nevada U.S. Senator Richard Bryan. Well, let's focus this segment on my guest's work to strengthen and protect Nevada's top industry. If you enjoy betting on collegiate sports, you can thank my guest for the right to do so. One of his greatest pro gaming efforts, some call it his biggest victory here for the industry, was a successful effort to protect the so-called Las Vegas loophole from congressional attempts to end sports wagering. The phrase refers to Nevada's exemption from the Professional and Amateur Sports Protection Act, which prohibits gambling on most sporting events. That act was signed into law in 1992 by President George H.W. Bush in order to secure the integrity of athletic competitions and to stop the spread of state-sanctioned gambling. But since some form of sports wagering was legal in Nevada, Oregon, Delaware, and Montana, Congress carved out an exemption for them. Good thing. Nevada at the time licensed 153 sportsbook, thus a prohibition on sports betting could have devastated the multi-billion-dollar industry. Few other of his gaming efforts. He streamlined casino cash reporting requirements. He stopped an effort to increase casino patron withholdings on winnings, and he used his position on the Senate Commerce Subcommittee on Tourism to push legislation promoting U.S. tourism abroad. And, you know, Senator, Nevada's the only state where collegiate sports betting is legal, and sportsbooks are a big revenue generator for the state's hotel casinos. Without your work to safeguard the loophole, is it fair to say the industry would have hugely suffered financially and, in fact, might still be struggling its way out of the recession?
Well, I'd have to say that it would certainly be a limitation today. As you know, you go into a gaming casino, and a huge part of it is dedicated to the sports book.
Sure.
Years ago, the casinos did not have that. You had a kind of an independent freestanding. Mm-hmm. Now the hotels have remodeled, and it's a very big part. And it's part of the attraction, you know, whether it's the Super Bowl or March Madness or whatever the major sporting event, and it generates a lot of activity. And Nevada has become much more of a resort destination, so gaming is a part of it, but sports wagering has become a very big part of the industry.
You know, there were critics of the loophole who tried, you know, unsuccessfully, you said many times, to blame the Nevada exemption to the growing problem of illegal sports wagering nationwide, and that led to your next successful effort for Nevada. That was protecting the industry against, you called, a potential witch hunt. That was the National Gambling Impact Study Commission.
Yes.
Remind us of that, why they started the study in the first place, and what you did to protect the state.
I think there was an anti-gaming bias, both in terms of the person who chaired it and the agenda. And I was very concerned about it. We fought together with Senator Reed to make sure that the commission did include some responsible people, Bill Bible among those, Terry Lanny and others, to make sure it was more balanced. As it turned out, it really wasn't all that damaging to the state, but clearly it had the prospect of being quite anti-gaming. It turned out to be a much more balanced report.
We're almost out of time on this segment, but, you know, other gaming efforts, I guess we'll just kind of close the segment with this. Why don't you tell our audience what you're most proud of, and also what you think the top gaming issues are facing Nevada today?
Well, of course, internet gaming is very much controversial still before us. I think as Attorney General, helping to root out the last vestiges of organized crime, I take some pleasure in having worked on that, and other issues to kind of modernize the industry that we passed some legislation when I was governor. And of course, you've mentioned the CTRs, the transfer regulations that would have inundated the industry with more paperwork. So I think we had a pretty good session at the time I was back here, and obviously my senior colleague, Senator Reed, and all of the Nevada delegation were very supportive of my efforts.
Okay. Coming up, what does my guest have in common with Silver Baron John Mackey? I'm going to tell you after this.
Planet Hollywood, Paris, Harrah's, Caesar's Palace. It's one of the most exciting skylines in the world, Las Vegas. Caesars Entertainment has nearly 50 casinos worldwide, including these. But no matter which casino you visit, we want you to play responsibly. And if you need help setting or keeping a limit, we hope you'll call this number. You see, we know you're coming to our casinos to have a good time, and we always want you to leave feeling like you did.
Nevada's direct link to Capitol Hill. Eye on Washington with Merrily Joyce, the only statewide Nevada news show based in Washington, D.C. All the top federal matters that matter most to Nevadans. Merrily talks with our congressional delegation and other leaders about the federal news you need to know. Eye on Washington with Merrily Joyce, Nevada's Eye on Capitol Hill.
I got my own iPod Touch and use my dad's login to get on gambling sites. Poker is the best, but I'm losing a lot. Since I'm too young to play, they're not allowed to keep the money and my dad won't find out. That's right, isn't it?
Safety. We all think about it. You think about it when he buckles in, when you check your mirrors and put away your phone. RTC thinks about safety too. In fact, we create it. Center turn lanes mean fewer blind spots. Bike lanes keep cyclists and you safe. Roundabouts reduce injury collisions. And all these crosswalks are designed to keep families like yours safe. Safety is your priority, and it's ours too. Every day, in everything we do.
A family's presence in the hospital helps children heal faster and cope better. But children who need specialized medical care are often sent out of the Reno area for treatment. Costs can get unmanageable, and it can be difficult for families to accompany their sick child. The Travel for Treatment program, presented by Ronald McDonald House Charities Northern Nevada, gives parents travel assistance when a child's medical treatment is not available at a local hospital. Please contact us today for more information and to see how you can help. Donate online at rmhc-reno.org.
Want more federal news that affects Nevada, its businesses, and its residents? Then you need to subscribe to Nevada's Washington Watch newsletter, your sole source of online news direct from Washington, D.C. Visit joycecommunications.com and subscribe today.
And we are back with our closing segment of today's Eye on Washington. Senator, as we close the show, I have to make you blush a bit and tell our audience about a big honor you were given last spring. In April, UNR unveiled the Richard H. Bryan Plaza is located fittingly by the William N. Pennington Student Achievement Center. As a 1959 graduate of the university, what did this honor mean to you?
Well, my father was a graduate of the university. Bonnie and I met at the university. It's been such a big part of our lives. My son is a graduate of the UNR Medical School. Another daughter is a university graduate. So it's been a big part of my life, and I was very, very honored.
You know, the only other statue on campus is Comstock Silver Baron John Mackey, which is what my tease was before this segment, whose family were supporters of the university. A little trivia. A little extra trivia, the sculptor Benjamin Victor also created the Sarah Winnemucca statue, which represents Nevada here in Statuary Hall.
Yes, that's right.
In Washington. How do you like sharing that distinction with the Winnemucca statue?
He is great and so easy to work with. You hear about temperamental artists. He was so easy. In fact, one thing I said I was always proud. It took him about 3 or 4 months. But one of the things I said, look, I'm proud to be a member of the Alpha Tau Omega fraternity. Could you put a pin in my lapel that shows that in the sculpting? And he did. So he's just a great guy, very talented artist.
I want to say on a personal note, you and my father were ATOs together. We
were indeed.
And to my statewide audience, Senator Richard Bryan's been a dear friend. He and his wife, beautiful wife Bonnie, who wonderful woman, and his children, HUD, Richard Jr., I still call him HUD, Blair and Leslie, dear friends to our family, and I want to thank you for that.
You're
and I want to thank
welcome.
you so much for being here today.
Love being here.
We'll see you next week. We're going to do one more show.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
That is it for this week's Eye on Washington, but we're always here for you. Just go to our website. It's joycecommunications.com. While you're there, check out all the federal issues that impact you in Nevada. You can like us on Facebook, follow me on Twitter, and catch up with any shows you may have missed on our YouTube page. Thanks for joining us on Eye on Washington. I'm Merrily Joyce in Washington, D.C. Have a good day.